Welcome to the Courage to Live podcast. My name is Josh Bitsko. I'm a retired police captain with 24 years of experience out of Las Vegas. Currently, I travel the country and I teach people about courage, resilience, and leadership. So, in line with some of the other podcasts, especially our longer podcast this week, where I talked about Loki, I was going to start sharing like a weekly story about Loki because he was such an entertaining dog. And, it's a two-part series with next week releasing another episode kind of wrapping up his career. But, during the course of his career, we found, dozens, hundreds of people, and each one was different. Each one was unique. And honestly, it was a really fun job. So I figured I could share different stories about him and I working together and some of the things that we did and experienced. So today I'm going to talk about his very last find. I knew I was promoting and he was about to retire. And so I was, a little emotional riding around in a car with a dog who I knew was going to retire and wanting to try and find and enjoy my time with him working as much as I could. We had a residential burglary during the day where two kids had broken into a house. Homeowner came home. They ran out the back and officers arrived and set up a perimeter. So I began searching the area. I arrived, talked to the officers where, the suspects were last seen, start going yard to yard, looking for any kind of change of behavior from Loki. And, generally he's on leash. The suspects were, probably hiding, but there was also a good chance that they got out of the perimeter. So what a perimeter is when somebody runs, officers will set up a perimeter around the area that they think they may be in with an intent of getting them to like lay down and hide somewhere. And so I'm searching the air units overhead, trying to see any kind of change in behavior when Loki, catches the odor of a suspect. And daytime searches are a little different because there's a lot of people out. So as I keep searching, I get into one backyard and it's like dirt. There's nothing in the backyard except a shed and a piece of plywood in front of the shed. Now, a lot of bad guys that run end up hiding in sheds. So in my brain, I'm like, if he's back here, he's going to be in that shed. And as I get closer, Loki starts a change behavior. And so his nose is up, his tail is wagging, his ears are perked up, and he's like pulling me towards this shed. So as we get to the door, Loki starts to smell the door, and then he begins to bite the plywood below. And now he had a tendency that he would bite things out of frustration. So I'm like pulling him back, like, hey, knock it off. We know he's in the shed. And so I start giving canine announcements into the shed. Like, hey, I know you're in the shed. Come out. I'm going to send the dog and he's going to bite you. And as I'm doing this, Loki kept biting the plywood at my feet. And, I should have taken that as a clue, but we also make assumptions. And even though I was an experienced handler and I've been working with Loki for years, I still had in my head that the suspect's in the shed. So before I send the dog in the shed to clear it, before I send him in there to see, search, because sheds are often cluttered, so he could be behind stuff. And I give one more last canine announcement, telling the suspect he's going to be bit. And I hear a voice from right under my feet. I'm down here. Don't let the dog bite me. So I realized that Loki was not just biting the plywood out of frustration. The suspect was actually hiding underneath the plywood in which I was standing on. So I backed up, took cover. The suspect crawled out from under the plywood, and we were able to take him into custody. Had a backup officer come handcuff him. And it was just, one of those lessons. Also, trust your dog and don't assume that you know where something's at just because it's been there before. And, these little life lessons that I picked up from working a dog and working Loki, it was his very last find. So he got to gloat because he was right and I was wrong. And the suspect was actually there was like a divot. That's why the homeowner had placed the plywood in front of the shed, because there was like a divot underneath there. Rather than fill it in with dirt, he just put plywood over it. Well, thank you for listening today. I hope you have a good day. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with a friend or subscribe or leave a review. And I appreciate you spending some time with me today.